Simon says quack like a duck. Simon says stop. Simon says quack like an angry duck. Simon says stop. Simon says, why is your duck so angry? Says, make a fish sound. Okay, stop.
You got me. You got me. Yeah, all right.
Yes.
That's perfect. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Muprov Musings. This is episode 43. I'm one of your hosts, Hal Munger, and joining me now on the line is your other host, Julian Bernardo.
You might notice that we are joining you from the line instead of live on stage as we did in our last episode, but we have something for this episode that is going to be just as entertaining and amazing as our live show. We have a guest. Hal has connected us and granted us the opportunity to speak with Robert Greene on this podcast. So would you like to introduce yourself and tell people what you're about?
Yo, thank you for having me on your wonderful podcast. This is cool because I haven't did like a podcast in a while, so I'm kind of pumped up. Well, I met Hal through education and school, and I realized Hal loves theater, and I love theater. And at school, Hal and I always have cool conversations about improv, life, theater, the art. So here we are. He invited me on, and I'm here. I'm an educator, actor, performer. Just did a Pepsi campaign, so I guess I'm a model too. So yeah, I'm just a people's person, artist, and I guess New York has given me that realm of just breaking labels. Because like early in my career, I considered myself I'm an actor. But you know, once you come to New York and you meet people who are just artists. So I guess I can just consider myself an educator / artist / educator. Just out here getting it in, figuring out how it fits together.
Mm-hmm. That's so exciting. And a lot of what we're going to be talking about are the ways in which you can improve as an educator through kind of understanding art, especially improv as an art, and the ways in which you can improve as an improviser or artist through understanding education and the way those kind of go back. And also, if you're a parent and you're listening to this, I feel like this is one of the most direct applications of improv and improv principles in action. I wanted to start out there just because this is something that I just have seen you do all year. But like in terms of if you have a kid and you're trying to get that kid to do something like, you know, put away their trash or put on their shoes or like lower their voice or something like that. How might your experience as an improviser or someone who like is playful and imaginative, like interact with that?
I guess it's just the openness, like just always being open. Like improv just gives you that ability to kind of think on the fly, to adjust on the fly. And just knowing kids and just knowing that kids like to have fun. So directions can't just be so put away your shoes. Sometimes it has to become a game. It has to become like get your shoes before the shoe monster eats them. Oh, I'm hungry. I want to eat those size 2s. They look delicious like strawberries. So and then you got to have to get in the world of the kid and just have fun. Mm-hmm. So it's just being open, and then just like anytime, knowing your audience. So as a teacher, your audience is your students. So you got to know how to approach each one. Now, that same monster approach might not work for every kid. You know, some kids like the whole race. Like, I bet I can put my shoes away faster than on your mark, because those are the competitive kids. Oh, no, Mr. Robert, you can't. Okay, you're on. So boom, bada bang. The next thing you know, they got their shoes on. So you kind of have to know your audience. And also, I think you have to be imaginative. You have to be free. I think sometimes we just limit ourselves in thinking beyond ourselves. The blessings that we have, Hal, we're able to be around kids all day. So, we see these young, beautiful minds shaping right in front of us. And like that, for me, it inspires me and also allows me to think like a kid sometimes. So, yeah.
Well, a lot of people like to draw the comparison between improv and like the play that we did as children. And I think more generally, we can expand improv to be various art forms that require play. I know like getting into a lot of like acting roles might require getting into that sense of play.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like that resonates with you as somebody who interacts a lot with children, that there is a similarity between the mindset needed to get into things like improv and the mindset that kind of is naturally inhabited by these kids?
Yeah, I think it is a connection. I think we as adults, as we get older, we get further and further away from that connection. Because like this idea of theater, or going back to acting, like acting like as if it's the first time. Like, so I've been playing Nelson Mandela off Broadway for like 5 years. So imagine doing that show like so many times, but each time is different for the audience. Each time is different for me because it is a new audience. But like, as I go through these scenes hundreds and hundreds of times, I have to imagine like it's the first time I've done it, to convey this realistic energy about it. And I see the same in kids play. Like, I remember like when I was working in Brooklyn, walking to the park, and it started to thunder, and I had like 3 and 4 year olds on a rope going to the park, and the kid, I guess, was the first time experiencing thunder. Mm-hmm. And like, they're just like, what is that sound? What's this, sky burping? Like, what's going on up there? So you just have to put yourself in the mindset of that it is natural, and it somewhat connects. I think as you get further in improv and it's just structure becomes a factor of it. I think like with the play, because I think I gravitated towards, because I think that's how I played as a kid. And since kids learn through play first, it's just natural to have those moments of improvising. But I think as we get older, it just becomes more so about structure, and it's a little less structured for kids, but the elements are there.
Yeah, that might be a good time also to ask you, because you also have a lot of improv experience. I feel like it'd be fun just to hear a little bit about the structures that you like to improvise in and stuff that you find fun from.
Yeah, we were like, man, we came, shout out to my improv troupe, The Indicators. We're like dinosaurs now, but we're like improv, being in an improv troupe, it made us a family now. So I still keep in contact with them. We got our own link that we text each other, and we're always there at weddings and births and things of that nature. So I guess for me, it started in grad school at the University of Louisville. I was always using improv in my life, but I guess I didn't have a name for it. I was like, that was an improvised moment, because I always like freestyle rapping, and that's like improvising. So I was like just hanging out in theater one night, and a buddy of mine was in there kind of conducting a class and doing some improv, and we just kind of started this group, and we just started doing shows. We were doing a lot of short form. We had this cool campaign called Channel Surfing, where the audience was like, somebody's going to steal this idea now and make millions of money off of it. Mm-hmm. But anyway, well, the audience was like, they had the remote control, and we were like, ABC, tonight on ABC, the Jeopardy, Full House, Uncle Jesse gets caught with this, so different scenarios, and they could flip to, the dating game in Jamaica. So the audience could flip to these weird different scenarios, and we would have this little DJ go, shh, and we would flop in and be these different shows, and we were able to go back and forth to them cut to different commercials promoting fictitious products. So I love that. And then we had all sorts of just games, categories and stuff like that. So we did a lot of short form. And then I experimented a little bit in long form once I came to New York.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people kind of view improv largely as like a vehicle or training for other forms, be it like within comedy or acting. How do you think that improv has helped your other artistic ventures?
Oh man, it's the best when you're an actor, because improv gives you the flexibility, the confidence to say, I got a game plan. So if I'm on stage and something happens that doesn't supposed to happen, boom, because I have the reps in my mind of being an improviser, I can think on the fly and adjust. You
Right.
know, I can make it make sense. We was doing Mandela, and a buddy of mine, he was dancing so hard, his lock fell. It fell out of his hair while he was dancing.
Uh,
I've seen the play, so he knows the scene I'm talking about.
Mhm.
And during the scene as Mandela, oh no, your hair, look at that. You know, it's like I improvised with the moment that happened. It wasn't in the script, so it just became a natural thing. Or when the phone goes off in the audience, or I've been on stage where the fire alarm went off, and just like just being, you know, that confident to know you have a game plan, or if the sound system stopped working. So it helps you out as an actor because it allows you to worry less.
yeah.
And then also in my music, it just frees you up in your music.
Mm.
What I just learned, man, I was watching this documentary about We Are the World with Michael Jackson and Quincy Jones. And I just learned that Michael Jackson would like improvise like sounds, and you know how most people freestyle lyrics and it's actually words. He was just he would just like, so a lot of those sounds that got in those records was just him improvising, coming up with beats on the fly. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, with the freestyle part, this is a question that I always am curious about. Just about in making rhymes, do you fall into the camp more of trying to think like, you know, one or two lines ahead and set up rhymes, or do you fall more into the camp of being like, I'm just going to trust that there is a rhyme coming after the first thing that I said?
It's an energy thing, man, because sometimes you'll hear a beat or a rhythm and you just get caught in this fun roller coaster ride and it just naturally comes out and catches up. Or sometimes if you're just like freestyling in general and it's not like a beat that's just you're like caught on, it could be the other way where you're thinking ahead of the rhyme or whatever. But most of the time when I get lost in a real nice riff, I'm just inspired by the beat or the energy of life that something happens. So it's just like, it just kind of floats together sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, oh, you go.
Oh, I just with that energy and rhythm thing that you're talking about, one thing that I feel like I've learned the most from you is this idea of like kind of energy management, both with like a classroom full of kids, but also with like as someone who is like my boss and someone who is also managing adults, like just in keeping an environment where a lot of people are in the same place and happy together. Like, how do you? What's your understanding of like just energy and group energies and like how that all works?
I appreciate that. And you're great. You're great with the kids, by the way. Got to give you your props too, my friend. You're great with the kids. You're so good. And just I love when I have other theater people on staff because we speak the same language sometimes. And like theater people make the best teachers sometimes, in my opinion. But that's another story. But I guess for me, I get that kind of comes from sports for me. Because I think about like one of the favorite coaches I liked is Phil Jackson, who was Michael Jordan's coach. And you got to think about he's got to be able to maintain that personality, who is Michael Jordan, who's like the greatest. Also with a Dennis Rodman, who's his own kind of cup of tea, and Scottie Pippen, who's like the number 2 guy, but still an all-star. And you got to deal with the management, you got to deal with everybody, or you take any other, or directors who are able to deal with the diva, the star, the up-and-coming guy, this person, that person, still have to have a connection with the angry lighting designer. So for me, it's like I got to just arrive at a comfortable place. So if problems do happen, we're all like, oh, okay, it's going to be good. So I just try to like come in the day with a positive energy. Yeah. Even sometimes it's like over positive. So sometimes I'm like, Robert, be quiet already with all these quotes. But I do it a lot with the staff or any teams or productions I'm on because that's like something I do for myself. So sometimes like I am saying in the mirror, I'm the best actor alive, or I am saying, you got it. Who's going to carry the boats? Who's going to carry the logs? And I get that from this guy, David Goggins. And it's just like things and just phrases I hear over life. You know, it's like not all superheroes wear capes. Like I remember saying that one day to a kid, and that's something I say to myself if I'm having a down moment or if I want to lift myself up, or something I might say to a friend when I'm trying to give them some words of encouragement. So I have these phrases and things that I go to, and just the energy of that I try to share and give to people. And I try to do the same with my art, especially when it's written and created by me and I have more control about it and the message I'm trying to convey. So I guess, and also just having a sense of knowing people. Like I have to know each person individually and got to know how these people fit together like a puzzle, but also have to know that these are people and we're all dealing with self at the end of the day. And sometimes you might need a little space. So it's several factors. But usually in the morning, I walk my round around the school and I can kind of sniff it out, see what kind of day we're going to have, see what kind of mood everybody's in, and then just adjust.
Well, maybe this implies that you fluctuate here, but largely there's kind of two directions you can go, right? Where you can come in, especially in any sort of people management or leadership setting, you can come in and say, I want to present as like a strong and directed force such that people are going to be able to get behind me and understand the direction that I'm trying to go. And maybe that will be the best thing to get all of us on the same page. Or some people are very like ear to the ground, trying to find out how everybody's feeling about things and incorporating, feedback into the overall direction. There's arguments for and against like being at both sides of the spectrum. Do you feel like you land at a certain place or you fluctuate between these areas or yeah?
It's just day to day. I think I kind of like bounce from day to day, from moment to moment. What I ultimately tried to do, and I try to lead by example. So I never want to ask somebody to do something I wouldn't do. Or if it's a situation where it's a first time teacher's learning something, I want to show them and hopefully they'll get it or see it naturally. But if not, then we can talk about it. And then if I see it, I might address it. So I try to take several different approaches, but mostly just try to lead by example. Because at the end of the day, the goal is just to win. I like some days I scream, Friday, let's win. Like we don't have a game. What are we winning? Like just the idea of win, just the energy of that word, win, accomplishing, achieving. And then sometimes it's not about the win, it's just about having fun, but the mindset of knowing we're achieving something together, we're striving towards something. So so it's just a combination, but I never try to be like, you do this, you do that, or like a tyrant in a sense, because I don't think you don't get much out of people with that. Even from a director standpoint, you got to just be able to know your actors and feel them out and just know how to give each actor the note that they need.
Right.
Such is life.
Yeah. Well, it's also especially true, I feel like, with kids that sometimes even like both in consequences, but also just like creating tension between yourself and the kid doesn't always get you the desired outcome for either of you two. But I still want to push a little further into the energy idea of like, if you're in a setting where either like you come in, it's clear everyone's kind of stressed and the stress level in the room is high, or you're interacting with a kid and it's clear that the kid is trying to create some sort of conflict right now, or has a lot of that energy. Two things of like, one, how did you train yourself to notice that and become aware of that and like have that sort of second level reaction rather than just letting that create stress in you immediately? And then also, how do you change what the energy is in one of those interactions?
That's a beautiful question. I guess how you learn is just from experience, and just understanding how you deal with stress or how you would want to be approached if you were having a stressful moment, and how somebody could help you get out of it. And then you learn from failing, because every time you're not going to get it right. And then like, if you've been through it a couple times, you've kind of seen a lot of this before. You kind of know where this is going, or you kind of know how to approach it. So I guess my gift is being able to say I've experienced it, just being in the classroom, being in settings and being in theater and just being in groups and just being in life, so I can apply it quicker, because of those experiences in those times. As a mean of solving it, I think my first go-to is like arriving at what's going on. Like sometimes, like I'll say to a kid, do you know why you're crying? That might be like a complex question for a 2-year-old. Like, what do you mean? Do I know why I'm crying? No, but at least we have somewhere to start. And some kids actually will say, I'm sad, or I miss my mom, or he took my car. So now it's like, okay, now how can we solve this? And then you also want to let kids know It's okay to cry. It's okay to have these feelings, but how can we solve it? So if those steps are happening early in the year, okay, by later in the year, you kind of got that going. You got your teachers got that going. The kids kind of understand it. Now you can kind of somewhat see if they will solve it by themselves, or you can say like little phrases, be a problem solver, not a problem starter. So boom, that kind of cues. Now we don't have to go through the whole lesson again. So it's growth. And we were able to like help the kid or help each other to figure out the situation of stress. But now it's allowing the kid to learn how to like figure it out for themselves. So it's the growth and it's learning in that. But it's just phases in a year and experience again, and just time and kind of knowing it. And then you don't want to force it. Some days are going to be stressed. And then when it's that moment, you just got to allow it to happen. It's like, oh, it's just going to be one of those days, but we'll get through it. So it's just, that's where the positive lies. Like, we're just going to lay in it. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? So, but tomorrow's a new day, so you win, but you don't try to uplift, because it's just not going to work. So the outcome is just to acknowledge it and say, we will get through it and tomorrow be better. So you just got to figure out what level you are and who you're dealing with.
Yeah, it seems like you got to set some like appropriate goals after assessing, like, all right, maybe we'll be able to get this far.
Yeah.
This is going to be our victory.
Yeah. Every day is not going to be a home run.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, some days we're going to win games. Some days we're going to lose games. Some days we're going to tie games. But the important aspect is, as long as we play, as long as we participate, and as long as we showed up, and as long as we tried. So that's the important lesson. When you walk into our school, you see a rug that says trying is learning. And that's just like one of my phrases that I was using so much in my teaching and just in life, and just something I try to imply to kids, like, because like you learn how to do things by trying them, and, just the experience of. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, the overarching kind of sports game winning metaphor, I think it's nice too, because it evokes the sense of team between each other. We are teammates. We got each other's back, which is a nice message.
And then it's the thing about that also is like it's accountability factor, because it's like I don't know. And then I think I get that from being in the theater, because like you don't want to be late, man. You don't want to be late, because your time is so precious. And if an audience is paying to see you, you don't want to let them down. You don't want to be late. So it becomes this discipline, and you being accountable for your role on the team, which is very important.
Yeah.
All right, I have another. Most of these questions so far, I feel like, are like very applicable to most people's lives, especially about parenting. But there's one situation that is kind of unique to preschool teaching, but it's this idea of, what do you do when you have a group, when your audience is like 15 preschoolers? Because this was fascinating for me to learn over the course of the year, of like, how do you keep that audience focused on some sort of performance and engaged? And I think it'll still be interesting to people. And you in particular, Mr. Robert, can conduct a group of sometimes like 25 or 20 very small children, have all their attention be focused on you for a long time. So I kind of was curious as how you do that.
It's like your window. The window has to be like so important. Like, how do you get them into like the game, or into the story, or into the focus? So I think the first step is just like, how do you get them? Sometimes it's just strumming the guitar. Oh, now they're hearing music for the first time today. So they're running back to where their music is. And now once you're there, energy is the next big factor. You got to be larger than life. And then the thing about it, like you said, like 15, sometimes it's like, if you get 11 out of that 15, you win, because you might not get everybody. If out of 25, if you get 19 out of that 25, you win. So, and then those kids that are in and out, it's just like boom, 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 boom. It's like jazz with kids, because they're thinking and processing so fast, like comedy comes in threes. Ideally, for kids, it comes in ones. Every joke's got to be a punchline. Bang, 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 bang. It's like James Brown. So it's got to be, everything has to be something. We go to the river, we go to the mountain, we slide down the mountain, we're back in the river. Now we're in Jello. Oh, look out for the dragon. Watch out for the monster. Jump under the, look over, roll over in the mud. Bang, bang. Here we go. And now we're at a birthday party. And they're like, whoa, whoa. So you have to be so far ahead of them, but also anticipating and knowing what they like. Like, our kids love music. Our kids love to move. our kids love the idea of freeze and go. So I love to incorporate stop, go anytime in that. So, because like freeze dance is just something natural that kids love to do. So I incorporated like games that they're used to in the story. Like you can incorporate Simon Says. You're at the cave with the dragon. Dragon says, "Go find 8 eggs." Find 7. Dragon didn't say find 7. No, no, no. And then it's like it's fun because the other thing is like they are watching you, but you want to make them feel as much a part of it, so that they're just like a part of the show. And now you got other people watching us. So that's just kind of like the fun of it. And then it's just a skill, just an energy. You just gotta really want to be in it, man. You gotta really want to do it. But you can't like tiptoe in. You gotta commit.
And with that, I that was actually just making me think, because one of the things that most surprised me was what you're saying of they're all in it. Like if there's any sort of like performance or holding their attention, it's like at every moment you have to suddenly have all the kids be touching their toes or stretching out or flapping their wings like birds. But I was wondering, do you think that could ever work? I haven't seen this in like adult theater really, but theater where the audience was fully doing some sort of experience that was guided by some sort of performer, like what you're saying. I guess adults might not want to like all flap around like birds, but do you think there's an adult equivalent of?
Yeah, I think it could work. Like you think about like man, they were showing this footage of Freddie Mercury from Queen at the concert Live Aid, and like just think about concerts when they say wave your hands, and everybody, thousands of people do it, like that, just that energy. Then or when somebody's rapping on stage and they stop and then they hold the mic out and everybody knows the lyrics, so it's similar. I think it totally could be done in the realm of theater or improv. I think you have to start out with a smaller audience or less, and just kind of let the people know what they're getting into, because sometimes like I don't know, like the market up here, like some people want to come and like just stand to the side and like, you show me, like you entertain me.
Yeah.
Pay this money to entertain everybody else. Like, but like I forget the show where it's like Sleep No More, maybe, where it's like you wear the mask, or maybe that's the right play. I think it is. I went there where you like walking through the levels and you're following the actors, like interactive theater. And I thought, oh man, this is so cool. And wasn't much really spoken directly to the audience, but you just kind of knew this is the vein of the show. But I think that would be cool. I think you would kind of have to have the space. And just like, you probably would have to have no chairs, because I think adults, man, once they sit down and get comfortable and they get transfixed that I paid to see you, you go. So I think you have to have like an arena or gym, and you just got to have a couple people leading the group.
Well, know your audience seems to be a pretty broad theme here that I think is quite true. And I do think that some of the things that you talked about, for example, the comedy coming in ones, can be applied. Like Hal and I at least have had many experiences where we're doing an improv show for what feels like a group of 15 preschoolers, like because maybe we're like kind of side booked for some bigger event and people are like kind of coming in, drifting in and out. And it's like, they have just as much attention span for us as the preschoolers do, because we're not like the main event of what's going on. And so employing some of those ideas to try to loop those people in could be nice.
Yeah. And I think, I love improv, and I feel like everything's so easily attained online that like, because it's like one of those, it's like stand-up comedy for me. It's like you have to be in the club. You have to kind of smell the booze on the floor. You gotta have to be there laughing. You gotta have to see people like spitting in the air and see the microphone and the dust coming off the carpet. So that's what I miss. I miss like being in those like spots in those clubs and those theaters and doing that kind of stuff. And I think that's what like we're losing out from by just depending on watching everything online instead of getting out and experiencing it. We should have notorious improv theaters, like we have all these historic comedy clubs that do a lot of improv. We have some of them named Improv X, Y, and Z, but we should have these venues where it's like, this is where all the improvisers hang out, and this is the spot,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, definitely now with so much of our like media online, like live performance is, I find myself appreciating it a lot more. But it's funny because, you think of the market share of like live performance within entertainment more broadly, and it feels like it's not going up necessarily. Uh, but yeah, I like, have you thought at all about ways to try to loop people more into like live performance as a concept? Because there is, people often put forth that it is on like these live mediums to try to adapt for the modern era to try to live in the 2020s basically. Are there any thoughts there for ways that live performance can persist and in light of all of the digital media that we have?
Yeah, I think we got to get back to the basics. I think we got to get back to the small clubs. And think we have to get back. I think sometimes like we try to make it so grand, make that money.
Yeah.
I get it, make your money. But like I think like we have to get back to like just the small venue of 50 people,
Mm,
or get back to the festivals, get back to the tours, and get back to those circuits, and supporting it that way, and not so much rely on big names to do that, but just
right.
relying on people who just really want to do that, and just keep spreading the word. And it's just like it's still there because it's like so many cool shows that happen throughout New York, so many cool festivals. Hal's always telling me cool stuff you guys are up to. The Shakespeare stuff sounds so cool, it blows my mind. So I think also having like themes, and
Mhm.
stuff that people can get excited about, and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it rings very true because that's also what's happening online, right? Like it feels like the age of the celebrity is dead in a way that like there's no
Yeah.
superstar today in the way that there was like
No,
40 years ago.
no.
And there is this little segmenting that's happening even online of
Hmm.
like, fan bases and whatnot. So yeah, I mean, that rings quite true that's what we should just be doing in real life as well.
I think it's such a cool time to be an artist, man. It's so cool and dope to be an artist right now
Yeah.
because, like, you have the world at your fingertips if you apply it right. But what I can say to artists is don't lose yourself. Don't lose
Mm,
yourself. Stay who you are and keep who you are. The thing about the masses, the world, I think they see things and they get so attracted to it because it is organic and natural. Speaking of art, that is. And it's like, let me put this beautiful art in a bottle and shape it how I want to see it now. Here you go, world. Look at it this way. So I
mhm.
think you have to just like stay who you are and just trust in the process that people still want to see live shows. People still want
Mhm.
to see improv. People still want to see theater, live concerts. People still want to hear the grungy band that started out in somebody's garage. They still want to see them make it big because we love success stories, and that's another factor. We love the underdog,
Yeah.
So we like that. We attach ourselves to it because we see a little bit of that in us. But New York, man, it's a beautiful market up here, and it's a beautiful opportunity, just to be around to experiment and do so much stuff.
Yeah. With that sort of success story, life story, I was wondering, so like you're the lead in like the biggest off-Broadway show. That's crazy. And like I feel like a lot of people would be interested in just how like what your personal sort of like winding path to there and to being an educator and spending your day around with in a joyful environment and like what yeah, kind of how you wound up where you are, like what choices you're making along
I
the way.
think, man, like my best decision, Hal, I guess was to move to New York. So after I did my last year graduate school, I had an intern at Circle in the Square Theater. Um, and that was my first time coming to New York. And I lived in New York for like 2.5 months. Fell in love with New York. It's like, look at all these cool people wearing and doing whatever they want. This theater energy, man, and whatever. This was like 2007 then. And I'm like, I like it here. I was reading the autobiography of Malcolm X and going to spots that I read about in the book and just meeting new people and just experiencing stuff and being at that intern, just being around all theater people that summer just gave me a new appreciation to just being an artist or just possibly moving to New York. And then I went back because I was doing like some regional theater, and I was doing a one-person show in Kentucky. And my improv troupe, we were famous in Kentucky. We were doing our thing in Kentucky, in Louisville area, touring, having fun. We're still college and grad college kids, so we're slowly winding out of school and figuring it out. So it got to that point where I was like, I think I'm moving to New York, and some of my other friends were moving too, and then like my whole improv group and some other friends from back home, we moved to New York, and we were blessed to have occupied 3 of the 9 apartments in a building. So we were there, just like an artistic collective, creating content, but it wasn't like really the filming era as much as then. We kind of missed that, man. I could have been YouTube rich. I missed it by a couple years, I think. But we was doing like a lot of different shows and some festivals, and then also just figuring out who we were. In the midst of that, I always had a background in education. My undergrad degree was in drama education, and I got my master in fine arts. And then my uncle was a teacher, and I had other teachers, and my uncle ended up being a retired principal. So I had educators in my family, and I always just had this liking of teaching and children. And I always just like loved my nephews when they were young and being able to teach them how to fish and do things. So I just had a liking for education. And then like when you're a theater person, they always say, I have a backup plan. So I was like, man, I don't have a backup plan, but if I have a backup plan, it's going to be to teach theater. So that's where the education part came in. So boom, bang, I moved to New York. It becomes my playground. I realized I can do music here. I can do comedy here. I can improv here, and I can act. Like I was saying earlier, I said I was an actor. So I moved up to New York to be an actor. So I auditioned. The company I do Mandela with was the first company that hired me, but it was for another show. There's a show about Muhammad Ali. So I just like I tell anybody, just not burning bridges, staying with the people that you work with, having good working relationship. So down the road, when the opportunity presented itself, they saw my one-person show at the Friends Festival and thought, hey, this guy could play Nelson Mandela. And boom, bada bang, the rest is history. And what I like about my career is just finding somewhere that's flexible, that respects you as an artist. Finding a school that can say, all right, Mr. Robert needs to be off for these days because he's got to work on this. Or, finding a schedule for you as a professional, because art and being an actor is your profession too. So I guess I've been blessed to find a balance of educator, artist, and then when COVID hit, I dove into music because I needed that means to express myself. So it's just being here gives me that balance. And I'm sure you can get it in Atlanta. I'm sure you can get it in LA. You probably could get it in Dallas. But like for me, it was New York. So New York's my playground, man. I can play on the swings. I can jump rope. I can go in the bumper cars. I can do it all up here, man. And it's people up here that's doing it all too. So that's the network energy of it. It's like a spider web. I'm Spider-Man. I cast my web out and just see who I can network with and just have some fun and create.
You seem to lean in a way that I like to this, like multi-hyphenate artist kind of label rather than putting yourself in any particular box. Do you feel like your, assumedly disjoint like endeavors are like contributing to each other in certain ways? Like, is it important to you that you are able to like fulfill yourself artistically in these different ways? And does it come out in your art at all?
Yeah, I think I'm just a student of balance, because I think the energy of being around young minds all day helped me to continue to grow and not be lazy.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the stress of the world allows me to pull away and write about it and articulate my thoughts and deliver it to somebody else who's stressed the F out too. So all of it pulls together and it's like it connects. And then also the idea of like you seeing something, you knowing something yourself, now you see somebody who's coming up similar and you being able to teach that and give that gem to that person so they don't make the same mistake. Or this is how you approach that, or you could try it this way so you can share. And I think art is a community, and I think education is a community. So it's like this idea that you're able to share with people these things that you care about. But I think I've just been lucky to find the balance of it. And some days the balance is altered. Some days I just want to wake up and I just want to sit at home and just create and not even go to school or teach or anything. And then some days, man, I just find this solace and peace in the classroom, or watching the teachers work with the kids and watching the kids create something. And I'll see a kid draw something. I was like, man, that looks so beautiful. And then it inspired me to write something, or it inspired me to approach a line or something that different that I'm working on. So I think it's all around us. We just have to know what to look for. And sometimes it's just right in our face, and we just got to be open. It's like the openness I was just speaking about earlier, just always being open.
Yeah.
Yeah. Has there been any time where you were trying to teach a kid something like a simple but like foundational principle of life, and then suddenly we're like, whoa, wait, I need to apply this to my, like, you know, you're trying to explain like share, like, I don't know.
All the time. Man, what do we say all the time at school? Use your words, use your words. You know, we got like, I could say that on the A train, anywhere in New York, use your words. And I think you have to apply it to yourself, because like, what do they say? Practice what you preach. So if like, you know, I'm a hypocrite if I don't like use that and as self, and I'm trying to give it to other kids. And then I see kids like deal with frustration, because I was a kid that just like, I was that kid too. So now I know the importance of just breathing. Sometimes me saying, squeeze my hand, breathe, and them taking a breath is helping me too at that moment to breathe and take a breath and to relax. So yeah, it's like it's all connected. It's all connected.
Oh, I was thinking about how we were talking earlier, how you had mentioned like hearing lightning and you know, kind of having to deal with kids at that time. And I feel like there's this like connection between like, you know, acting, improv, and education, where reactions are everything. This is something that I've been thinking about in particular recently, because I was teaching like an improvised stage combat workshop at the Shakespeare festival that we were doing, and I was, you know, part of it is really selling this point that you can do the most accurate possible, you know, sword stabbing as possible, but if the person who's receiving it isn't reacting in a big way, then it's not going to be received. And so in a big way, the way that we react to things kind of informs our audience more than what actually happens. And you always hear this with kids, like when they fall, are you supposed to like be like, oh, no, are you okay? Versus like start laughing or something, right?
Yeah.
So that feels like a connection there.
Wow. That's brilliant, man. That's really profound. Because yeah, definitely. Because kids are always watching us, like how we talk to each other. Like you know, like we're now in this comfortable, cool setting, and we're still saying Mr. Hal and Mr. Robert, because the teachers just naturally say that to each other.
Yeah.
So if the teachers are giving each other respect, the kids look at, okay, this is what, you know, we're seeing how Mr. Hal treats Mr. Robert, vice versa. We're seeing how these adults interact. They're always watching how we respond to things. You know, if it's a loud sound, does this sound scare Mr. Robert? You know, if Mr. Robert seems calm, maybe it's all right now, you know? And like the fall is tricky, because the fall does also depend on the kid. Like how many times has this kid fell today, you know? And most times it is like, it's your reaction, but because your reaction sometimes can scare the kid, you know, but most of the time my go-to is just to give it a beat to see how the kid's going to respond first before I dive in. And then I'm going to check in on the kid. But yeah, I think reaction is such a key thing, because like you learn about those social dynamics so early, just within dramatic play, and just then with the way kids play, within group play, and just within class dynamics. You will see like two kids, like the way they respond when these two kids are so close, the way they respond when the third friend's kind of slides into this little friend circle. Kid B might really love it. I like this. This is fun, the three of us. But kid A might, I don't know. I don't like three's a crowd. We were buddies minutes ago. So they're always responding and learning, because it's just growth and learning in that. And a lot of the times you can't really say what's the right response or what's the wrong one. I think it's just acknowledging and helping them cope and understand it. But also when you have the chance to present a positive example, then you definitely want to do that, because they'll respond how you respond. That's why like kids are different at school than they are at home. because it's just the different energies.
Mhm. Yeah. Wait, with that sort of reaction and response, I was wondering if you'd want to talk a little bit about the viewpoints, because I know we've had a conversation about how they've kind of informed your acting training, and also in some ways life existence and just perception.
Oh yeah, like Ann Bogart, like my favorite class in grad school was a class called theater games. Oh, we had the metronome, the walking the grid. Some days in class, we would just spend the whole hour and 20 minutes just walking the grid, spatial relations. The same thing when I walk in the classroom, I see the setup. Should we put the sensory near the art with the paint? I don't know. The sand might get mixed with the paint. Let's move it over here. Should we have the dramatic play in the middle? Yeah, because the kids can do this and the sound won't bother the other kids in the front who are working on something a little more quieter. Should we have the sunlight blaring this morning? Should I play some smooth jazz this morning to mellow the mood because they came in rowdy? So it's kind of like sensing the room once your actors or your little performers, sometimes I call the kids, once they get into the space and just kind of figuring out. Then architecture is a factor, repetition, all of that comes into mind. And I love spatial relations as it pertains to directing. And ideally, like a good teacher is directing that classroom. They're able to put the kids in a situation so they can win. They're able to help their other teachers figure out how, we can all fit in and work together. So I love spatial relations. It's just life. Some days I see it on the train. You're just watching the train. You get to one stop and like 8 people just get up at the same time, like it's planned, a choreograph, and just the swishing of the doors. It's just all movements, and we're just naturally doing it. Because I'm a big guy walking around the street. I don't want to bump into people or whatever. Hal's tall as a tree, so you got to duck here and there. You just got to adjust to what's around you, and I think it's just so key. But the most important thing, I think, is stopping before you just go out into it, just kind of taking it in, observing it, and just trusting those impulses. But I love spatial relations. And that class is just, it allowed me to learn so much, even with like direction on stage, standing next to somebody or standing far away. If you take a picture frame of that, what does that tableau say? What does that picture say? Now the cross could be stronger if you get a little closer this time. That simple little gesture, those simple things, it can mean so much. Just where you have this kid's water bottle in relations to another kid's water bottle can make that kid's day. Or it could strike up a new friendship that you're trying to have. If you have this kid that doesn't really have any friends, but he really loves blocks, and this other kid that really loves blocks, but just wants to play by themselves. What happened one day if you put their lunches together and you leave some blocks on the floor? And they pick them up and they have a discovery moment that they both like blocks, and now they can put the blocks together. So it's just about orchestrating some magic, man.
Yeah. It really feels, sorry about that. It really feels like magic when there's such a degree of chaos to it, right? Because you never know what's going to happen. So you just have to keep on trying things.
And the chaos is cool, man, because I love the term of controlled chaos. I do this little thing with my kids. Chaos, control. Because I think they have to recognize the opposite. And then some days, man, they have to get all that chaos out of their system because we won't get any control. Kids are like, they got to move. Adults were like that too. Sometimes it's just expressing and getting it out of your system so you can focus in. I'm sure you guys have your own artistic routine. Like me, I like to start off my morning if I'm doing a show, sit on the back, just like breathe it in, take my time, get into my music. Then I get to the theater like an hour and a half and I warm up for like 45 minutes and I go through the whole play in my head. But I have to do all those sequences just to get myself there, just to find my control. And then the chaoticness of the city also just like it inspires me sometimes. So you can appreciate those moments. And when I go back home to the South, where it's just a little more peaceful, a little more quiet, I can absorb it more. But like some days we have like 15 to 12 kids on the floor, Hal's on the guitar, I'm on the good drum, a kid's banging on the piano, a kid's pulling on another kid's leg, kids dancing and having a good time. And you might come in and be like, what is happening back here? and it could be loud for the average person. But for us, if we stop that music, they'll all freeze. And say, okay, find a seat. They'll all sit down. So it's chaotic to some, but it's like controlled chaos for us. And I love that controlled chaos because it's necessary.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people, and myself included, like, don't underestimate the power of the kind of warming up and what you're saying about that mental. And I feel like I've learned a lot about that at Rose Hill and working there for improv. And I was very excited when I was just teaching this 3-day workshop. It was 18 hours, teach a Shakespeare play. And I feel like if I had tried to teach it, like even just a year or two ago, I would have just spent the whole time focusing on learning the concrete skills of how do you improvise in style of Shakespeare. But because I feel like I've sort of gained more experience as a teacher and as just a human, like for the last 3-hour block, we just only did things that were focusing on just getting in the right headspace before our show. And for other blocks, we just only did things like there was in the second block of the workshop, people were getting really stressed and they were having trouble with the new material and verbalized that like, oh, this is really challenging. So we just pivoted and started doing a different version of it that was more fun and was less about concretely learning something, but more about keeping everybody's energy in like the headspace. And they put on this show that was like fantastic. And I felt like it was really because just because like that concrete like skill or planned or practice thing is only a very small fraction of it. Whereas the ensemble building and the mental health side and like that other side is kind of what makes the improv performance or the school day or anything the conversation you need to have in your life, like function. So that is a very cool lesson that I feel like I've taken away, particularly from you, Mr. Robert.
Oh, appreciate it. Yeah, man. Because to me, it's like, you were saying earlier, I think Julian was saying this aspect of your audience, knowing your audience, and sometimes just the world's your audience. I would do the Mandela show in Harlem and have a different energy when I got off the A train and I walked through Harlem and what I experienced and what I saw going into the theater. So it would allow me to relate different to certain moments in the play and things that he was talking about. Because I could see like, you see the people, you see homeless people and you see like things that just like seem troublesome to you. And then as it pertains to the painful moments in the play, you dive into that emotion and you find a connection because you absorbed and you've seen that walk into the theater. Now, when we shifted the play to the off-Broadway, I would get off the train and have a different energy because I would see the lights. I would see Broadway. I would see all the other musical. And it would make me more like an athlete where I was like, I'm coming to get you. Like tonight, I'm going to own this section of the theater district. It's mine. Okay, I'm fighting against you tonight. So both of them were perfect for me. And both of them I were able to use and manifest. But it's just like, is it just the same thing with the viewpoints and spatial relations and just trying to really like use what the world gives you in a positive way and just trying to, convey that in expression in an honest fashion it's just always been helpful. And I wasn't always like that as an artist. So it just feels good to be at that point in life where I can breathe in this stuff and give it out some kind of other way. So, yeah.
Something that came up a couple times that I'm interested to poke on a little bit. We're getting kind of high on time, but I want to squeeze this one in, is that it seems that you maybe utilize a lot of like, I don't know if I would want to apply this word directly, but maybe competitive motivation or kind of just this sports-like mindset going into a lot of these artistic endeavors. And that's something where, arts and sports obviously exist like at, far parts of one spectrum, maybe. Do you feel like this kind of competitive drive is something that has helped you in these artistic pursuits? And are there times where the fact that these are very different kind of things has maybe made it hard to hold this as a motivator for artistic pursuits?
That's a great question. I think it helps me personally But what I learned, sometimes it doesn't always help the group, because everybody approaches it differently. Like being in an ensemble. I was doing this play, forgot, I was playing Thelonious Monk in the play, but I was working with a new group of people. And like with my Mandela castmates who've been knowing me for a while, we just have a certain energy and they just kind of know me where, they kind of accept me blurting stuff out as I'm warming up to psych myself up. And then sometimes saying some stuff to challenge the team, the group, and we get riled up like that as a group. But it doesn't necessarily work for everybody. So, but for me, I guess I started getting into that when I was doing my one-person show, Situations at the Fringe Festival, because I'm an energy guy. I love the energy. I love working with people. I love feeding the energy of the people. I love a good two-person scene. I love a good ensemble cast. But doing a one-person show, you're by yourself. So I was really into like Kobe Bryant at that time with just his motivational tactics as a person and his ambitious drive to succeed. And it becomes this inner game of tennis with yourself. So you're challenging yourself. Robert, I know you can do it. Step up. You can do it. Go over these lines. Focus. Stand a little hard. Take your time. You got it. So I become my own coach, and you start to have these dialogues with yourself. And then I found it helpful for me. It got me going. It got me, like, it inspired me. So I try to approach the day like that. Even when I walk into the job and I'm getting off the train, I'm listening to things that motivate me. I'm putting myself in a mindset to be my best self. Because I tell anybody, you gotta be your best self before you can be your best nephew, son, daughter, or anything else to anybody else. It starts with self. So that works for self. That works for me. And that the sports connection is funny because you get it from sports because everybody sees sports as this competitive nature.
Right.
But I think it's just more so about this lion-like mentality, not in just like a war aggressive style, but just like a confidence, pride thing. Like I care about myself. I care about what I'm presenting. I care that somebody could be out there seeing me for the first time. I care that these people are counting on me to know my lines, so it's just like a prideful nature that, I'm going to step up to the plate. I'm going to do my job. So yeah, anything with sports, it gets me going, man. My YouTube is like, I got my series of things that just really gets me going. And every now and then I share them with the team.
Yeah, well, it's very inspiring. So I like to think that I have a lot of or I get a lot out of that kind of inspiration, that like hype stuff. Like, yeah, I'm gonna go out there, I'm gonna do that.
I'm gonna give you one, Julian. I'm gonna give you one that I love from Kobe. This thing I'll send you. I'll text you the link later. It's just this thing Kobe said in this motivational thing. It's so simple that I say it sometimes at school. He just says, life is like a game. You just got to make the right play. And it's just that simple. So some days to a kid, I'm just saying, make the right play. And it's the same as make the right choice. Yeah. It's like, are you going to take that from the kid? Or are you going to make the right choice and give it back? Okay, we have to go. Can you put your shoes on, please? Make the right choice. Can you make a big kid choice? Make the right play. And you're thinking about that in moments like, I think some litter fell out of my book bag or something, man, and it dropped on the street. And I had got like a few steps away, and I was like, man, I could just leave that trash on the street, and I could like hear that, make the right play in my voice, man. And I was like, what is this doing? And I walked back, and I picked up the paper, and I put it in the trash can. But putting yourself in a mindset like that, it can just really uplift you, because if you're constantly thinking, yeah, man, I'm gonna make the right move, I'm gonna make the right choice. And that rightness pertains to you, absolutely. Like what do you feel is right for you in that moment? I think that's what we get at misconstrued sometimes, when you have people always telling you, do it this way, do it this way, do it this way. And that's the beautiful thing about theater that I learned in grad school. I would take like Brecht and Stanislavski, August Wilson, and Bogart, the viewpoints, and put them all in this basket and come up with my theory approaching a character, like what worked for me. I liked all these other theories. I liked this improv approach, this approach, and I put it up and see what worked for me. So I think that's what it also means, what works for you.
Yeah.
What's
great.
your
That's
right play?
awesome.
Yeah.
Put that on a T-shirt. What's
Yeah.
your right play? Yeah, make the right play. That's Kobe. Yeah, I love that.
Right.
That's amazing. All right, our final opportunity for you to make whatever play you think is the right one is the question we put to all guests, which is if there's anything you want to publicize. It could be a performance that you're in. It could be a mindset that you have. It could be a thing that you like that has nothing to do with you. But if there's anything that you wanted to give a shout out to here.
I don't know. I feel like I just did it with the Make the Right Play campaign. That felt really good.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know. I guess my shout out is support artists, support art, support yourself. Just be free and create your own magic and make your right plays. And I don't know. I think like conversations amongst artists, amongst people are healthy and necessary. So it's great to be on this podcast with you guys and talking with you guys. It's so funny because there's so many artists in New York, but I don't get to have many conversations with people. And it feels good just to say things out loud. And I think I would say share. We have to share more as artists. This is the sign for share. Probably can't see it though. But we have to just share more, I would say. Upcoming show next Saturday at Co-op City. We're doing Motown with East Harlem Rep Company. I'm playing Don Cornelius from Soul Train. Come on aboard.
That's exciting.
So it's going to be fun. We're going to have, we got Michael Jackson, the Supremes, guy plays Stevie Wonder, Smokey Robinson. It's going to be a fun play. We're doing 2 shows. And other than that, I'm really in this nice phase of writing. I spoke about situations. I was telling Hal about it, my one-person show. So I'm working on the 2nd installment. Circumstances coming your way soon. And I just really been itching to do some music, but I don't know what that means for me just yet. So I just been constantly writing. I guess I would say to everybody listening, always keep creating. If you like creating, just keep doing it. And you'll never know what's going to happen with what you create. Like, look at the idea that's Walt Disney, man. Like that started on somebody's pen and pad, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah. But yeah.
Is there anywhere where people can find you online as well?
I'm on Instagram, Greene RG. That's GreenERG on Instagram, and Robert Greene on Facebook. Yeah, I'm in and out online. I get online to promote if I'm doing something or find some magicalness I want to share with people. That doesn't mean I don't support online because I'm always for my friends' content and things they do. But yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Robert, for coming on the podcast. And
awesome.
Without further ado, this has been Muprov.
Yeah.
You just achieved it. I don't know what happened to Julian, whether he just lost his internet or something. He just disappeared. But we always have this competition to see if our guests can complete the Muprov Musings thing before Julian says it. But he's out of the game. So if you just say Musings right now, you could be the first guest to win this, Mr. Robert.
Musing?
Yeah.
Musing. Got it. Woo! First to win.
First to win. So my sign off is that we just finished the Unscripted Shakespeare Festival in New York, and we haven't talked about it yet on the podcast. And Julian's internet went out at the end of last episode, so some time has passed since the conversation we just had. But let's jump into we just had a giant festival.
Yeah. We just did a crazy festival where we were running around doing a lot of improv, doing a lot of workshops, doing a lot of shows, and maybe most excitingly had a bunch of people who had varying levels of Shakespeare learn both these improv and long form skills and also perform them. And it was super exciting to watch that and to do it. And it was so fun.
My expectations for what is possible were wildly blown and uplifted. I felt like I was getting away with something. I was like, you can just organize it and put it all together. And then suddenly, and also the 3 crowning, you should go listen to the live show if you haven't, last week's episode, really fun. But the 3 workshops, one of which was taught by Julian, and one of which was taught by me, and one of which was taught by Amy, that had performances after them, put on 3 fantastic performances. 2 of them only had 1 day to prep. Mine had 3 days. But they put on like phenomenal improvised Shakespeare shows.
Yeah. Yeah, I was super excited with the way the tragedy prov went, for example. That was the workshops that I taught. Yeah, I think it was from like workshop to stage. I mean, obviously improv is this like butterfly effect chaos theory thing, but I was very pleasantly surprised with how it all turned out. I think the shows as well that I watched and all the other performances that happened as part of the festival were super fun. I want to shout out the Michael Bird Cosmic Unity Jam. That was on the first night that I was out there. That was super fun. That was like a type of jam that I hadn't seen where Michael Bird was kind of bringing people up one by one to be in scenes with him, but still wove together this very fun narrative within the Shakespeare context somewhat.
Yeah, he's another person who may be on the podcast at some point.
Yeah.
And in the last night, Julian, we did a jam with Thorn and Pedalstick where anyone could get up and join the show. And it was one of the craziest shows I've ever played. Like, it was so fun.
That's awesome.
So much fun. I want to keep this short because the episode itself is kind of long. But my final little thing that I want to let you know that you haven't known is because, I mean, the students from my workshop put on a phenomenal show. They were all super talented and they all signed up to do 30 hours of, well, I guess 19 hours of improv in a weekend. And the little announcement is that we have invited all 6 of them to join Thorn and Pedalstick, which is the Shakespeare team.
That's so awesome.
Potentially also more people in the future, but that is expanding and growing into a Simps style improv group that hopefully will be, like somewhere like 16 people and doing different formats. It'll always be Shakespeare, but like, maybe Shakespeare horror, Shakespeare comedy, or Shakespeare drag, or who knows what is to come. Not all 6 of them are going to join. Some of them have conflicts and stuff like that. But in the spirit of just show up rather than doing an audition, we just offered an extremely long workshop. And if you made it through the 19 hours, you were automatically in.
That's super cool. I feel like Shakespeare improv in New York is like a nice and specific offering that people will be able to check out, and having more people for Thorn and Pedalstick I feel like will be huge, both in terms of being able to put on some of these like shows that are more in the style of what we did back at Stanford, as well as just having like more people on deck to be doing things and helping it grow. So hopefully it's like a viral infection where it expands outwards.
Yeah, what we've realized is that the theater we used for the festival was a little too big. That was silly. But in the same space, there's a 30-seat theater that costs like $300 for a 4-hour slot for the evening. So if you have a 15-person team, that's $20 per person if you literally sold 0 tickets to any of the shows. If you had $10 tickets, like you only need to get 10 people to come to each of the 10-hour-long shows, you know what I mean? So if everybody on the team is inviting like 2 friends to the show, it pays for itself. And otherwise, it only costs people like $10 to $20 to be able to be like, I want to play in an hour-long show.
Yeah.
So really we have with a 6-person team in New York, it's very hard to find stage time. But if you have your team be like 15 people or 20 people, you suddenly have this group, collective buying power where you have a lot more friends who could come see the show, and you have a lot more people like if everyone pitches in a small amount of money, you can make I hope our new goal is to be able to do a show night where it's all hour-long shows on our own terms once every 2 months. So that's the dream we're living.
That's epic. I truly do hope that Thorn and Pedalstick becomes some gargantuan that has to be destroyed even in the future if it becomes evil. And,
coming up on July 8th, I think, or whatever the first Saturday of July is, you can see us playing in an hour-long slot at the Pit Annex. So,
Sheesh.
Oh, can't you
Nice.
Can't you see
We might have already cut it, but I also just want to thank all of my workshop participants across the 2 workshops. I had a lot of fun teaching these workshops, and it was very nice also to like, now I have a little binder with like a pretty detailed plan for like a 3-hour and a 6-hour workshop, where that feels pretty portable. Trying to throw that at some schmoozy boobies out here.
You know, things are rearranging. Can't you see me now? Can't you see me now? Everything is changing. Can't you see me now? Can't you see me now?